there, my name is Lisa. I have had a ton of health issues and I am coming off like a 3-year recovery from a hysterectomy, which I know is ridiculous. That I am trying to lose weight. I have gained a ton of weight while I have been on this never-ending medical debacle. I have decided to start Trim Healthy Mama, and I'm YouTube trying to find out how people get started, what do they do, how does it work for them, and I've had a really hard time finding something that would be good just to help you get started. Even if no one ever sees this but me, it gives me accountability that I can go back and look at, or at best, maybe somebody else who's in my shoes will come across this video of information that they'll find helpful. And yeah, that's about it. So a bit about me. I am married to my high school sweetheart. His name is Josh, and I love him to death. And we have a 12, almost 13-year-old daughter. We have 4 dogs, which I am almost positive they will be included. I should actually add a blooper. Like the second I tried to start this video and talk, everybody came flying at me, so I had to stop it and start over. There's always something going on. It's always crazy. We only have 1 child. I have had a complete hysterectomy, so there obviously will be no more babies for us. So my little medical journey goes, when I was 15, I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and they did surgery when I was 15, and about every year they've done surgery since, up until I was 32, 33. That is when I had my hysterectomy. Over the years, they just have done all these surgeries. They never sent anything to pathology because there was no need, like no organs were taken out or anything like that. And so I always trusted my doctor. I believed him. He went in, he said, you know, you've got all this scar tissue, you've got this going on, you've got that going on. You know, everything points back to endometriosis. We went in, we cleaned you up. So that was our catchphrase is, you know, as soon as I'd start having pain or when pain would start to come up, they would say, all right, it's time to go in and clean you up. That was just what we did, and I trusted my doctor. And that is the biggest mistake I have ever made, because I had surgery when I was in high school, was my first surgery, and then I've had multiple surgeries. Sometimes I've had a few surgeries in a year. And 19th, 2013, I was getting ready for my daughter's birthday party. We had had a date night the night before, and she was having a surprise pool party the next day. I went to get up in the morning, and I was in excruciating pain. Like, I'm talking about, I thought I was gonna die. It hurt so bad. And I tried to go out into the living room, like kind of do laundry, or, you know, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't eat, I couldn't get anything done, and I was home by myself. So eventually, I called my husband, and I was freaking out. I was like, something's wrong. I'm not gonna be able to go to this party. I can't do this. I don't know what's happening to me. He's like, you know, you're gonna be fine. Like, by that point, we had gone through so much together, and I had a total of 16 surgeries. So horrible pain. I can't function. I can't move. I can't sit. I can't stand. I'm having a hard time breathing. I eventually started throwing up, like literally vomiting, because my pain was so insane. And so I somehow got through a shower, because I won't leave the house without a shower. I don't know if any of you other people out there are crazy like that, but I won't leave unless I take a shower. So I got my shower, like threw up more, and eventually was able to leave to go to the emergency room. And when I got there, I was like, I am gonna pass out. I'm in a ton of pain, like something's wrong. And so they're like, we'll just get you hooked up for pain and we'll get to you when we can. And as they weren't able to figure out what was wrong, so they sent me to my doctor. And of course, you know, he's like, you know, it's your endometriosis again. We need to go in and clear you up. And I was like, something's wrong. Like, this is not right. I've never been in pain like this before. This is insane. Like, there's something wrong with me. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go in and clean you up. So I was a director with 31 at the time, and I went on a trip with my mom to the Dominican Republic. And when I came back, we did surgery October 25th, which was the day before my birthday. So I had lived with this pain for 2 months. When they went in, they found that my right ovary was I had complete ovarian torsion, which means my ovary was completely twisted. And at the time, they told me that it was due to the endometriosis, which was not true. But at the time, they had said, your endometriosis has completely engulfed your ovary, and it has caused all of these issues for you. I would really, really love for women who have endometriosis or have been told they have endometriosis to become more educated because of what's happened to me. So back to my story, they had told me that my right ovary was completely attached from endometriosis. They said it had my ureter involved. They couldn't do anything about it because if they did, they could completely damage my whole urological health. So it could completely affect how I'm able to urinate for the rest of my life. And I was like, when I woke up, they were like, things didn't go good. And that's when they told me about the ovary. And they told me that I had endometriosis completely through my entire uterus. Like, it was completely through it. They said that I had severe adenomyosis. The pain was never going to let up and never going to stop, or it was just like I was screwed. They had told me my right ovary was twisted, my endometriosis was everywhere. So we're panicking, and I spent 2 months. I didn't have my hysterectomy till December 16th. I spent 2 months researching everything, or a month and a half, I guess, researching everything and like, what do I do, and look at all these cases of endometriosis. And at this point, I still believed I had this severe, out of control case of endometriosis. Like, I didn't realize that there was something else going on. So they do my hysterectomy, and I wake up and my husband said it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was the most cutting he's ever done in a surgery. It had to be done robotically. They had to have a urologist on call because my ureter was involved. My endometriosis was on my bladder and my bowel all these times. So there was just a lot of concerns there. And so they did the surgery, they removed my right ovary. They had to completely dissect it out because of how engulfed it was. Now, it wasn't endometriosis, none of it was, but I did not know this at the time. It was all scar tissue. Scar tissue caused by repetitive surgery for pain, or due to pain, but the pain was completely due to something else. It wasn't endometriosis. It was the most messed up situation I have ever heard of. And what's sad is there are other people who are going through the same thing that I have. So I have this hysterectomy. They tell me how horrible it is. He has no idea how my recovery is going to be. So at this point in time, I still didn't know what was going on. I believed him. I'm like, I had 6 months in bed. I couldn't do anything. Like, literally could not function. I was in so much pain. My husband was amazing. He's just like, babe, take it easy. We don't know, like, we just need you to heal. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I started to get a little bit better where I could at least function and move for a little bit. I mean, it was pathetic. Like, and I have learned I have an incredible pain tolerance, so the fact that I was down and out like I was, it was bad. So I learned, like, I would try to, when I was doing a little bit better, I couldn't do much. I had like a half an hour, an hour that I could move around, and then I'd have to go back and lay in bed for like the entire day. If I had an hour outing, I was in bed for 2 to 3 days because my pain was so insane. Like, I couldn't do anything. And so we knew something was wrong, and I kept going back, and I was like, something's wrong. Like, why am I not feeling better? I've never heard of anybody being like 4 or 5, 6 months out from a hysterectomy and not getting better. And he's like, I don't know what's going on with you. There's no reason for this. And so they're making me feel like I'm crazy. And I wasn't crazy. Like, you can't make up that pain. You can't. It was like god-awful horrible. And finally, I was still selling 31 at the time. I finally went to a party, and my customer there, she was watching the way I moved, and she's like, she was a nurse, and she was in the military. And she looked at me and she's like, there is something not right. Like, you can tell by the way you move, your pain is excruciating, and there's something not right with this. Like, this should not be this way. You should have had your hysterectomy. If it was endometriosis, you should have had it. You should be fine. You should be doing great. And I wasn't. I was having, well, I mean, obviously I was having horrible hot flashes because I was in menopause. They had left my left ovary, but I had had issues my whole life. And so a lot of polycystic ovarian disease or syndrome, whatever you want to call it. And so I had just decided that I was going to go in and just say, I need answers. So I went back in, and he did an ultrasound and found that there was a large mass on my left ovary, which was the only thing I had left. I was so fed up. I was so miserable. I was in so much pain. And I just said, take, like, he said, we need to go in and take this. And I was like, just take the ovary. And he's like, no, you know, I'm not sure. I don't want to do that. And I was like, no, you need to take it. I am miserable. I am done. Like, that was surgery 14, because I had 14 surgeries for my endometriosis. And then I've had two since. And so I had a hysterectomy, and I was like, I am done. You just need to do this. I'm done. I need to live a normal life. Like, this is destroying my life. I can't play with my daughter. I can't spend time with my husband. Anything that I'm supposed to do. And this is horrible. And so he did do the surgery. Wasn't getting better. And so I had another 31 party, like, I don't know, like a month or two after that surgery. And she's like, you know what? I think you need physical therapy. I think because you've been down for so long, you just really need somebody to rehabilitate you. Like, you have no core strength. You can't be down for over, like, at that point, I was down almost a year. And she's like, you can't be down for a year and then just expect your body just to bounce back and maintain everything. Like, your muscle memory is at a traumatized state. So I started physical therapy. Like, who starts physical therapy from a hysterectomy? Like, the physical therapist didn't even know what to do with me. So I had no core strength. Like, I could not even sit on an exercise ball. They had to hold me up on it. Eventually I did get stronger, and one of my therapists, her name's Danielle, and I love her dearly, she started working with me. Like, she started seeing how much pain I was in. She's like, you need manual therapy. And she started really getting into my abdomen, and she started actually tearing scar tissue. You can't have 14 surgeries and not have scar tissue that starts adhering everything. That's what scar tissue does. Like, if you have an incision, scar tissue creates. That's why it's called scar tissue. And after having 14 surgeries, like, my abdomen is just covered, engulfed in it. And so she started manually tearing my tissue. Several treatments, I started to find a little bit of relief. And then it's been baby steps ever since then. 2 years. Last October, or probably September, I went to the doctor and I was like, you guys messed me up. Something's not right. I still can't do a lot of things. I was still having a hard time. I couldn't go to the grocery store by myself. I could push the cart, but I was still at the point where if I did things, I would be in bed for days, or like at least hours. I couldn't go for a walk around the block. And so I'm gaining weight, and I literally at this point in time am just a few pounds shy of what I was when I delivered my daughter. And that started out with the hysterectomy. I was like, I'm not going to gain all this weight, because everybody knows menopausal women can't lose weight. But I didn't have any choice. Like, the first 6 months I did really good. I didn't gain any weight, but I'm depressed and defeated, and I couldn't understand why this was happening to me, and I was miserable, and I did end up gaining weight. And so now I'm accepting myself for where I'm at, and that's part of why I'm doing these videos, is so I have accountability to keep pushing forward, because now I'm in bad habits. And sugar addiction is like crack. It's impossible, or it feels impossible to give up. It's insane. So anyways, back to September, I went to the doctor and I was like, you guys messed me up. There's something not right. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to send you to a specialist who I really think can help you. You have chronic endometriosis. You have chronic pain. I'm going to send him, and I think he can help you. A specialist. And he goes over everything, and he's talking to me very empathetic, and, you know, holding my hand, and I'm so sorry you've gone through all this. Like, this doesn't sound right. And he's like, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, you shouldn't have had these many surgeries. Like, this doesn't sound right to me. So he was getting ready to do the exam, and he had done the exam, and then he said, you know, get dressed. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. And at that point, like, he was very efficient, very like boom, 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 like really on time. And he had left the room to look at the reports and everything, and so I could get dressed. And like 40 minutes go by, and I'm like, what is going on? And he comes back in and he said, hey Lisa, do you have somebody out in the waiting room? And I'm like texting my husband as I'm sitting at this appointment, and I start texting. I was like, you need to get here now. Like, something's wrong. He's asking me if I have family here with me. And of course I didn't. I went by myself. My dad had had a stroke the day before, or he had had several strokes. Like, that week was the week from hell. My dad had had a stroke on my birthday, which was October 26th, and he went into the hospital on the 27th, and on the 28th was when I was at this new doctor to get his opinion on what was going on. So he asked me if I have family there, and I'm like panicking because my mom and my dad are at the hospital. I was at this appointment and then going to the hospital to be with my dad. And I start texting my husband, and the doctor said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "You're asking if I have family here. Like, something's wrong. Like, are you going to tell me I have cancer?" And he's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. It's nothing like that. Like, your husband doesn't need to come." So I sent him a message. I was like, "Okay, hold off. You don't need to come." And the doctor sat down, and he's like, "Lisa, I don't know how to tell you this, so I'm just going to give you facts." And he said, I started with your pathology report from your hysterectomy. I wanted to know, what did they find when they went in? I was like, "Okay, that's really logical." And he said, "Have you seen your pathology report?" And I said, "No." As a matter of fact, like, after my hysterectomy, I had so many complications. I asked my doctor if we could talk about everything that happened, and he told me no. And I just kept having so many complications, I let it go. Like, I really never pushed for anything. He said, "Well, they sent your ovary and they sent your entire uterus and everything. Anytime they do a surgery like that and they remove organs, it has to go to pathology. And you've never had that with any other surgery. I've gone through all of your files and they've never sent anything else to pathology." But he's like, "They had to anytime there's an organ involved, they have to." And so what I found out was I didn't have endometriosis. In my ovary that was covered in endometriosis, there was not a single cell. In my uterus that was covered and completely intertwined with endometriosis, there was nothing. None. Not a single endometrial cell. I actually have the report in big bold letters across the top. No endometrial cells found. I was upset. I was pissed. I was about to freak out, and he said, we need to go from this point forward. There's nothing I can do to go back. Like, I can't go back and give you your organs back. I can't go back and undo the hysterectomy. But what I can tell you is I think you have an extreme pelvic floor disorder." And he said, "What I think happened was you had some kind of trauma when you were younger, and it caused your pelvic floor to tighten up and spasm." And he said every time you had surgery, it pretty much exaggerated the symptoms, created more pain, made the spasming even worse. Now it's to the point where it's like literally like a paralyzed Charlie horse on your pelvic floor. So your pelvic floor is a triangle that obviously it's your vagina, your bladder, your bowel. That is all supported by your pelvic floor. And he said pretty much due to something that probably happened as a child, which I can already tell you what it was. When I was in the 5th grade, I fell and I broke my tailbone. That's what started everything. And it just manifested from there. And they did all these surgeries, and I never had any options for any kind of therapy until I had a 31 customer, tell me you should go to physical therapy. That was the first therapy I had ever been recommended. And that's when Danielle had started manually doing work on me. And I was completely floored. Like, I didn't even know these things were options, which granted, that's a lack of education on my part. But when you're told you have something wrong when you're 15, they did the surgery, things felt better. I believed him. I believed that he was doing the right thing, that he was looking out for me. And it wasn't true. Like, in all honesty, I have several friends who have gone to the same doctor. He since retired and he left the area. I think he's practicing in another state. But I have other friends who have had surgeries from the same doctor, and one has gone for a referral to the new specialist I found, and she found the same thing. She had only had 2 surgeries, but she doesn't have endometriosis. She has a pelvic floor issue. And it's going to go into the doctor's name or anything else. It's a very unfortunate circumstance, but I'm going to tell you this: if it happened to me, it could happen to somebody else. And so that is pretty much my introduction. I'm going to keep it real. Like, I've been screwed over. We have had really rough things happen to us in our lives, like really, really rough. I was talking about my dad earlier. I just wanted to say my dad is still with us. He had 4 major strokes. He lost all functioning on his left side. He is a trooper, and he's fighting right along. And I am so, so proud of him, and I'm so blessed and thankful that I still have my dad here. And I'm just working on getting better myself. I'm going to the chiropractor, which I know that sounds crazy, but through everything, I can't use both hands. your pelvis should be kind of lined out like this, like on both sides. Well, my right side, which is where all the attachment was actually like turned in and then dropped. And so they had to actually shift my bones around, and that has been like amazing on how much relief it's brought me. But I still it's a daily struggle for me. I have a lot of problems in my piriformis. Probably most of you have not heard of it. It's like the center of your butt. It's the muscle back there. Specialists, they started doing like vaginal internal therapy, which is, I had to do it 2 times a week. I've had 2 rounds of 20 vaginal trigger point injections. And let me tell you, I was in so much pain. I literally went into that office white as a ghost, and they were like, Lisa, what is wrong? Like, I couldn't sit. I felt like I was in labor. I felt like I was having a baby, and this is all from my pelvic floor muscle contractions. Like, they were so spasmed out. I literally was begging them to give me 20 trigger point injections internally 2 different times. And they were the best thing ever. But that's how I know my pain tolerance is insane, because the nurse told me, she's like, I can't believe the way you're the amount of constriction that you have and the way that you are handling this. Like, I don't see patients who have this kind of pain tolerance. So I've done the internal physical therapy, the trigger point injections, and then I've had 2 more surgeries. So in January of this year, 2016, I had a inner stim put in that is supposed to give stimulation to my bladder and my bowel, and to stop spasms from happening, because all of my surgeries have caused damage that it's created it so I don't have much control. It's just like everything muscular down there it's such a mess. It is getting better, but I'm gonna be real, it's been hell. Like, I would not want anybody to go through this. And so they did the surgery. My battery pack that's connected to the inner stim started flipping, literally flipping, and it took forever to get this doctor to realize that it was flipping, which I probably just should have had them remove it. In March, I had them go in and they did an adjustment to it. It is helping, but it has movement, and I don't like it. Like, who wants to have a battery pack in their butt moving around? It doesn't feel good. If you hit it right, it hurts. So I'm at a point that I'm not sure if I want to keep it or not. The doctor thinks I'm crazy. He's like, it's all in your head. I've been through, don't tell me it's in my head. Like, I've been dead on with everything I've ever told you. So why don't you quit being an arrogant asshole and listen to me? But whatever, doctors think they know everything. So once my daughter goes back to school, I am going to turn my inner stim off, and I am going to see if it's really helping. I don't know that the help that it's giving or the stimulation that it's giving is worth it. I think that changing my diet, changing my lifestyle, taking sugar, I've noticed if I have a lot of sugary drinks, I start having urinary issues. So I think eliminating that would help. And then just learning to live a healthy lifestyle, healthy stretching, doing some exercising. Like, I just started at the gym on Friday. So my daughter and I went Friday, and I did 10 minutes on the elliptical, and I know that sounds pathetic. Like, I recognize this, but it's what I can do. The chiropractor doesn't want me doing any more than about 10 minutes, and then I can add up 3 minutes per time if I'm feeling okay. So we're on our 3rd or 4th time. I'm up to 13 minutes on the elliptical, and that's all I do is I go and I do 13 minutes on the elliptical, and then I come home and work on stretching and different stuff. But my piriformis started getting really bad last week, and I started having some pelvic floor symptoms, which I have not had to do any of that therapy, to do any of that since March, after my surgery. I took 6 weeks off after my surgery. My surgery that I was supposed to need a 2-week recovery, I did 6 weeks. We were going to Hawaii, and I just did not want my health issues interfering and not able to go on this trip. So I laid really low. We had a lot of things happen in our family. My mother-in-law passed away the day after my surgery. My dad came home from being in rehab the day before my surgery. So anyways, I just took a lot of time off just to focus on me and just to give my body time to heal. I'm back at it. I'm heading to the gym a couple times a week. We went this morning. I was actually going to videotape going to the gym. My daughter's like, you have to do an introductory first. Little Miss YouTube Pro. So that is my story, and I'm hoping that I can tag some endometriosis and different things so that some women out there can see what I've gone through. I know women with endometriosis will relate because I understand what the pain is, because even though mine wasn't endometriosis, it was a pelvic floor disorder, the pain is very similar. That's how this doctor was able to get away with saying that that's what I had wrong. So I'm going to head off here for today, but thank you for watching. If you want to embark on my journey with me and see everything that I have to go through with all of this and cheer me on for a healthy lifestyle, and I would love to have some accountability partners and cheer you on. Like, I really want to do this. I want to lose weight. I want to feel good about myself. I want to get back to normal. So anyways, yeah, if this interests you, subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!